This is the Edexcel GCSE Mathematics Practice Test Set 4, Paper 3H. Question 1. This is an ingredients question, so on a calculator paper I always advise that you find the amount that you need for each cookie in this case. So if we do 250 divided by 20, that will give us 12.5 grams needed of butter. Divide the 120 by 20, we get 6. Divide this one by 20, we get 15 grams of flour per cookie. To work out how much you would need of each one, if we do 625 divided by 12.5, that means we can make 50 with the butter that we've got. Divide this by 6, that means we can make 60 with the sugar that we've got. And if we divide this one by 15, it means we can make 66.6 of these. However, we've only got enough to make 50 overall because of the butter. So the answer is 50, as we only have enough butter for that. Question 2. Selena and Zoe are both singers. Selena sings for 65% of 80 minutes and Zoe for 5/8 of the 80 minutes. What's the difference in what they sing? So to work out 65% of something, you do 0.65 times 80, which will give us 52. And to find 5/8, you divide by the bottom times by the top, and that would give us 50. And the difference between that would be 2 minutes. Question 3. All that information there is on the diagram. Work out the size of the angle marked X. Well, the way I would do this, is several ways of doing it, but the first thing I would write down is that is 50. So angle EBF equals 50 because base angles in an isosceles triangle are equal. From there, we can work out that this one must be 80. So angle EFB equals 80, and that's because angles in a triangle add up to 180. And finally, X therefore must be 80 because it's alternate to angle EFB. Question 4. Simplify c squared k to the power 5 to the power 4. Well, all that means is that you want c squared times k to the power 5 4 times, multiplied together 4 times. So you'll have c squared times c squared times c squared times c squared, which is c to the power 8. Shortcut is just do 2 times 4. And then, again, the shortcut would be 5 times 4, so that would be k to the power of 20. Expand and simplify this. So if we use FOIL, 3x times 4x would be 12x squared. The outsides, 3x times minus 1 is minus 3x. The insides, 5 times 4x is 20x. And then the last ones, 5 times minus 1 is minus 5. And if we put all that together, we get 12x squared plus 17x minus 5. Solve x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. To solve a quadratic, we need to factorise that. So we're after two numbers that multiply together to give minus 10 and add together to give minus 3. So that will be minus 5 and plus 2. And then to make that equal to 0, the first bracket needs to be 0, so x would have to be 5. Or the second bracket could be 0, so x would have to be minus 2. Question 5 is a triangular prism, right angle triangle on the front, and a depth of 8. To work out the area of that triangle on the front, we need to do base, which is 12, times the height, which we don't yet have. But because it's a right angle triangle, we can use Pythagoras. So Pythagoras says that the hypotenuse squared, which would be the 16, is equal to the other two sides squared and added together. If we rearrange that, we get that h is the square root of 16 squared minus 12 squared, which would be 10.58. Leave that number in your calculator because to do the next part, to work out the volume, we can do 10.58, which is already in your calculator, multiplied by 12, which is the base, and half it because it's a triangle, and multiply that by the depth to get the volume. And to three significant figures, that would be 508 centimeters cubed. Now, I'd always say to write down your full calculator's display, so I would always put 507.984251, etc., and then round it, even though it doesn't ask you to round it at the end. Question 6, make P the subject of the formula. Well, to do that, we need to look at what's happening to P and undo it. So it's getting squared, multiplied by 3, and then subtracting 4. So we're going to add 4 to undo that. So you'll end up with y plus 4 equals 3p squared. We then need to divide by 3. So we get y plus 4 over 3 is p squared. And then we need to square root. So you'd have the square root of y plus 4 over 3 equals p. Question 7. 10 boys, 20 girls in a class. The mean mark for the class is 60 and the mean mark for the girls is 56. Work out the mean for the boys. Well, to work out the mean, you add them all together and divide by how many there are. Now, that's already been done for us, so we need to undo that. So for the 30 pupils in the class that got an average of 60 marks each, that means that all their marks would add up to 1,800. The girls alone, there are 20 of those, and they all got a score of 56 on average. So that is 1,120 that their scores would add up to. And if we take those away from each other, we get that the boys' scores add up to 680. Now, we need to divide by how many there are to get the average. So 680 divided by 10 would be 68. Question 8. The diagram shows a ramp. Work out the value of x. There's several ways of doing this one again. But because this is a right angle here, we can just do 160 take away 90 equals 70. So this top corner would be 70. And then to work out x, angles in a triangle up to 180. So we just need to do 90 take away, 90 add 70 take off 180, which would leave us with 20. Your reasons for your answers would be that 160 minus 90 equals 70 because it's a right angle. And then angles in a triangle add up to 180. You must use add up to and not equal to, because equal to would mean that each angle is 180, and that's not true. The angles add up to 180. Question 9, the decision tree diagram gives information about the probability of snow for the first 50 days in winter, a probability that the buses will run or not. Now, the thing to remember here is that each pair of branches need to add up to a whole one. So the probability of snowing is 0.2, probability of no snow would be 0.8. Probability of buses running when it snows is 0.7, so that would be 0.3. The probability that buses will run when it's no snow is 0.95, so not running would be 0.05. It says work out the probability that it will snow and the bus will not run. So snow and not run is down this one, so we need to multiply these two together. 0.2 times 0.3 is 0.06. Question 10. A baker makes jam rolls. He uses flour, butter and jam in the ratio 8. So flour, butter and jam in the ratio 8 to 4 to 5. And the cost per kilo is given in the table. Work out the cost for 200 jam rolls. So if we work out how much we need of each one first of all, so 8 add 4 add 5 equals 17. So if we do 425, which is a weight of 1, divided by 17, that gives us each part must be 25 grams. If we multiply 8 by 25, we get 200 grams of flour needed per one. We need 100 grams of butter, and we need 125 grams of jam per one. Now, we actually need the amount for 200, so we need to times these by 200, and we get 40,000 grams. We would get 20,000 grams, and we would get 25,000 grams of that. Now, the prices are per kilo. There's 1,000 grams in a kilo. So if we divide each of those by 1,000, that's 40 kilograms of that, 20 kilograms of butter, and 25 kilograms of jam. The price per kilo is 40 pence. So if we times that by 0.40, price for the butter is £2.50. Times that by 2.50, and the price per jam is just £1. Multiply that by 1, and we get £16 for the flour. We get £50 for the butter and £25 for the jam. And if we add those up, we get £91. Question 11. Here's a cumulative frequency diagram showing the male teachers and female teachers' ages at a school. Find an estimate for the number of male teachers older than 50. Well, the thing to remember here is that a cumulative frequency diagram always shows the amount or less. We're after older. So if we go to the age of 50, we go up to here and across, we will see that that is at 66. Now that means there are 66 male teachers that are 50 or younger, so 50 or less. So we need to do 100 take away 66, which would be 34. The youngest male teacher is 21 and the oldest male teacher is 65. Draw a box plot for that. Now, to do a box plot, we need the lowest and highest ages, which we've just got, but we also need the lower quartile, median, and upper quartile. So if we go back to the graph, there are 100 teachers here, so if we do a quarter of that to get the lower quartile, that's at 25, and we read down. So the lower quartile, we can see, is 33. The median will be at 50, because a half of 100 is 50. And we read down, that gives us 44. And then the upper quartile would be at 75, because 3/4 of 75 is 3/4 of 100 is 75, and that would give us 52 for the upper quartile. Putting those onto the diagram, the youngest teacher was at 21, the oldest teacher was at 65, the lower quartile is at 33, the upper quartile is at 52, and the median is at 44. And we join the lower quartile with the upper quartile and the ranges. It says make two comparisons between the distributions of the ages and the male teachers of female teachers. Now, to do that, you must always compare a range and the medians. So I'm going to work out for the females and the males, the range, the interquartile range, and the median. So for females, the range is 44, and for the males, the range is 44. So that's not much use to us. The interquartile range for females is 14.5, and for males is 19. And then the median for females is 51.5, and for males is 44. So the ranges I'm not going to use here, I'm going to use the interquartile ranges because that gives us more to talk about. So because the interquartile range for females is lower, so their ages must be more consistent or closer together. And then for the medians, it shows that on average, the male teachers were younger because they have a lower median. Question 12. Work out the perimeter of this sector. Now, to work out the circumference of a circle is pi times diameter. So the first thing I want to do is work out the diameter. So double that, we get 13.6. And because we've not got a full circle, we've only got 100 degrees of it, we need to do 100 360ths, because it's 360 degrees in a circle, times pi times 13.6. Now that will give me the length of PQ. So that's just the arc. So we need to add to that the 6.8 and the other 6.8 to get the full perimeter. And if we put all that into the calculator, you will get 25.5 centimetres to 3 significant figures. Question 13. F is the function f of x equals 2x plus 5. Find f of 3. Well, all that means is put x equal to 3. So 2 times 3 plus 5. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 5 is 11. Express the inverse function f minus 1 in the form f minus 1 of x. Well, all that means is rearrange the function. So the function is 2x plus 5. That means x is getting multiplied by 2 and adding 5. So we need to take 5 and divide by 2 to rearrange that. And because we want it in terms of x, we can just put that x minus 5 over 2. G is the function g of x equals x squared minus 25. Find g of minus 3. So that just means minus 3 squared minus 25. Minus 3 squared is 9. Take 25 is minus 16. Find g f of x. That just means put the function f of x into g of x in the place of x. So x squared minus 25, if I put 2x plus 5 in the place of the x squared minus 25, that's all it means. So to expand the brackets, 2x plus 5 squared would end up as 4x squared plus 20x plus 25, and then obviously there's the minus 25. So the plus 25 and the minus 25 will cancel out. You just get left with 4x squared plus 20x. It says solve gf of x equals 0. So gf of x is 4x squared plus 20x, and we want that equal to 0. So to do that, we factorise. So we can pull a factor of 4 out of each and pull a factor of x out. And then to get back to 4x squared, we need an x. And to get back to 20x, we need a 5. So to make that equal to 0, x would either have to be 0, because 4 times 0 would be 0, or it would have to be minus 5, because minus 5 add 5 would be 0. Question 14. Dan does an experiment to find the value of pi. He measures the circumference C as 170 millimetres to the nearest millimetre. Now, because it's to the nearest millimetre, straight away, I'm going to write down the bounds. So the bounds of that would be 169.5 to 170.5. And the diameter would be 53.5 up to 54.5. Now, it says Dan uses pi equals C over D to find the value of pi. Calculate the upper bound and the lower bound. Well, to do the upper bound, you want to do C max, so the biggest value of C, divided by the lowest value of D. So that would be 170.5 divided by 53.5, because dividing by a smaller number gives you a bigger answer. And that would give you 3.19. And then to get the lower bound, you'd do C min divided by D max, which would be 169.5 divided by 54.5. Again, divided by a bigger number gives you a smaller answer. So that would give us 3.11. Question 15. Simplify x plus 1 over 2 plus x plus 3 over 3. Well, to add fractions, we need a common denominator. So the common denominator of this would be 6. So if we multiply the first fraction by 3 and the second fraction by 2, you would get 3x plus 3 over 6, and you would get 2x plus 6 over 6. And then once we've got a common denominator, we can just add the tops together. So that would give me 5x plus 9 all over 6. Question 16. The diagram shows an isosceles triangle x, y, z, and all of that information. So M and N are the midpoint. Prove the triangle XMY, so XMY, is congruent to YNX, so this triangle here, okay? Give reasons for each stage. Well, the first one I'm going to put is that MX is equal to NY, so both have got a side that are the same, and that's because ZX equals ZY, but it's an isosceles triangle. And not only is it an isosceles triangle, M and N are midpoints. So they must be the same size. I'm then going to say that they both have the same angle. So angle ZXY must be equal to angle ZYX. The reason for that is base angles in an isosceles triangle are equal. And then the final thing, like I said, I've got a side and an angle that are the same as each other, so I need another side to make that an SAS triangle. So we will say that XY is shared by both triangles. Therefore, they are SAS triangles, and therefore they are congruent. Question 17. A, B, C is equal to x plus 1 to 3 to x minus 1. A plus B plus C equals 60 and B equals 30. Well, if B equals 30, we can see that B is the middle number, so we've multiplied that by 10. So we multiply each bit by 10 to get an equivalent ratio. We'll get 10x plus 10. We'll get 30 in the middle, and we'll get 10x minus 10. And we're told that if we add those together, we get 60. So if we simplify that through, we get 20x plus 30 equals 60. Take 30 off both sides, we get 20x equals 30. So x is equal to 30 over 20, or 3 over 2, which is 1.5. Question 18, prove that 2n plus 3 squared minus 2n minus 3 squared is a multiple of 8. Well, to do that, we just need to expand all the brackets and simplify it down and show that that's a multiple of 8. So 2n plus 3 squared would expand. So 2n plus 3 squared just means 2n plus 3 times 2n plus 3. I'm going to take from that 2n minus 3 times 2n minus 3. 2n times 2n would be 4n squared, plus 6n plus another 6n would be 12n's, and then 3 times 3 is 9. And we want to take from that 2n times 2n is 4n squared again, minus 6n's minus 6n's is minus 12n's, and then minus 3 times minus 3 is plus 9. Now to simplify that together, 4n squared take 4n squared would cancel each other out. You've got 12n subtract minus 12n, so that's like 12n plus 12n, so we've got 24n's there. And then we've got 9 subtract 9, which cancels out. So all of that just simplifies down to 24n. I can write that as 8 lots of 3n. And 8 times anything is a multiple of 8. So therefore, it is a multiple of 8.